Hey, assalamu alaikum everybody. So I'm actually going to get on here today. We've talked a lot about like, okay, what is my opinion on being like a Muslim American woman? What's this thing of a revert? What's this other thing? And so now I'm going to get on, and I thought it'd be really cool to talk to you guys about what it is that I wish Muslims knew about reverts, and kind of how things that I wish I would see more mosques take on, and just like things that I hope that might be helpful to you guys to put into practice if there are reverts at your mosque, because anyways. So thing number one is, when a Muslim converts, some of us studied Islam for a while before, and some of us just stumbled upon Islam and were like, this is my faith. This is like, for whatever reason, sorry, everything's gonna be shaky today because, like I told you in my last little thing, my video holder guy broke, and I have not replaced it yet, but maybe I'll remember to do that. Probably not. But anyways, what were we saying? Muslim reverts and things that you knew about us. So some of us studied Islam for a long time, right? So I have friends who studied Islam for a couple of years before deciding to take Shahada, and they have all of this knowledge, mashallah, and all this knowledge of hadith and all these other things. And for other people, they just answered the call to Islam because something about the message of Islam resonated with their hearts, where they were like, look, I'm going to change maybe everything about my life. And I don't necessarily, and maybe they didn't even know that. Maybe they just knew in their hearts that they had found Islam and that they had found a home. And so they're coming to Islam with just the knowledge that their heart has kind of dragged them there, for better or for worse, but they don't know everything yet. And so one thing I really want to see more of is programs at mosques that teach reverts things. And I'm not just talking about things like hadith or whatever, but just basic Islamic practice, and to do it not in like a condescending or a rude or a judgmental way, but like, one of the things I love reading about is like child development, and I think it's so interesting and it's so amazing, mashallah, how like juicy and cute and amazing little kids' brains are, and how much they're soaking up that we don't take into consideration of like the world around them, and how much they're learning about things. But with that being said, every child development book I've ever read, whether it's coming from Montessori perspective or whatever perspective in the world it's coming from, you never ever like sit a toddler down and you're like, you learn this thing. Idiot, right? And not only that too, like Islam tells us that when someone converts and they become Muslim, they're like a brand new baby, right? And if you grew up in a Muslim household and, you've had all of these Ramadans that you fasted and you've done all of these other things, like let's say, for instance, you've been Muslim for 20 years, right? And then you have a brand new baby Muslim, and then you're like mad at the baby Muslim for not knowing calculus. Like that doesn't make any sense at all. So treat us like gently and kindly, I remember one friend of mine, she became Muslim, and she went to a mosque one time, and she didn't know that much about Islam prior and whatever, and she had on fake nails when she went to the mosque, and this woman grabbed her hand and she was like, don't you know this is haram? This is so bad. What are you trying to do? Why are you coming here? Your prayers don't count, whatever. And while there was like a shred of truth to what she was saying, yeah, you can't make wudu if you have on fake nails or whatever, like what she wound up doing to this friend is that friend of mine didn't go back to a mosque for like 6 months afterwards. And she was just so rude and so mean that she hurt my friend way more than she helped my friend. Another thing was too is that like all of these things that you guys might just take for granted because you've been Muslim for so long. Like you guys are like, I know how to put on my pants. I know how to put on my shirt. I know how to tie my shoes or whatever. And when you look at a baby, you have to remember all of these things that are second nature to you are not second nature to converts. We've a lot of times grown up in completely different cultures, been around entirely different peoples, entire different types of philosophies. So it's not like we're just putting on our shoes. It's like we're learning an entirely new different thing. And I remember I was talking to someone one time and I was like, yeah, sometimes I listen to the Quran on the way to work or to school and stuff. But sometimes I listen to music too. And she was like, I can't believe it. This is so bad. People look up to you. You should be listening to nasheed. And I was like, well, what's nasheed? And like, I had never heard of nasheed. At that point, I'd been Muslim for like 2 or 3 years. And of all the things that I had been learning, and also in the process of learning, I'm still like living my life, right? So there's all these things. There's all this gaps. There are all these gaps. I feel like every time I come on here, I have to be like, hey guys, I speak English, which should not have to happen so much from someone whose first language is English. But yeah, like those things that are second nature to you guys because you grew up in Muslim households are not to us. And everything, there's this Maya Angelou quote where she says, people forget what you say, they forget what you did, but they never forget how you made them feel, you know? And when it comes to Islam for Reverts, we never forget that, you know? And the way you treat us could have the difference, could cause a difference in us not going to a mosque for 6 months or, you know, feeling judged. And when I worked at Vienna, I read this like really sad statistic about how there's a huge chunk of people every single year, mashallah, who are reverting to Islam, but then they leave Islam after 2 or 3 years. And we started talking about this when I was at work because it was an Islamic company that I work for. And a lot of the people that I worked with, they were born Muslims. So they were like, okay, you're a revert. Why do you think that is? And I was like, let me give you a list because here's one and here's one and here's one. But no, but really, like one thing that you guys have to take into consideration is that for a lot of us, some of us have really amazing families who are like okay with us converting and they're fine with hijab and they're fine with things like this. And for a lot of other ones of us becoming Muslim comes with the sacrifice of our families, you know? Not the sacrifices of our families, because that's not what Islam asks us to do, but it comes with like a great heavy burden on our families where there are relatives I have not spoken to since taking Shahada. I don't know if I'll ever speak to them again. And these are people who loved me so much and I thought like they would always be a part of my life, and they're not here anymore, you know, and that's a huge loss, you know, that's a huge loss. On top of it, like, you know, there's just a lot. There's a lot of pain, a lot of beauty, and obviously whatever Allah takes from us, He replaces it with what's better, but it doesn't mean that we're not in pain, you know, and it doesn't mean that becoming Muslim doesn't come without a sacrifice. And what I've seen so many times is that when people revert to Islam, the first thing is everybody's there for them to say Shahada. They all want the good deed for being there when a Muslim says Shahada. But after it, it's like nobody is there, you know, and we need support. You know, Allah created this ummah so that we could be a form of support for each other, so we could be brothers with each other, we could be sisters with each other. And I don't think that was just so we could be like, oh, we're all family with each other. I think it's because He knew there'd be a really big need, you know? And non-Muslims, reverts, we need you guys. And we need you guys to come to us with like good intentions, and intentions not of like, you know, any other thing other than being like, this is my brother and my sister and they're a baby and they need to learn how to walk, and so I want to take their hand and help them learn how to walk. So that's like a huge thing that I would think about, is just that we need you guys and we need the community that comes with it too. And there's so much judgment sometimes in the Muslim community. Like, I was Muslim for almost 2 years before deciding to wear hijab, and I don't really remember ever getting really judged, or at least not to my face, of people judging me for not wearing hijab. But when I started to wear hijab, I realized how much judgment came with that. Where one time I went with one of my girlfriends, and she's Muslim and wears hijab, and I had just started to wear hijab, and we went to a coffee shop. And this girl came in who knew my friend, and she was like, oh, assalamu alaikum, whatever. And like, they seemed really nice with each other and really kind with each other. And then the other girl left, and then she was like, did you see what she was wearing? Like, her hijab was almost see-through. There's no point in wearing hijab. That looks terrible. That looks like this and this and this. And what she thought she was doing maybe was like telling me how not to wear hijab. But all she was doing was terrifying me, because I'm like, oh man, I wonder if I've ever left and like had my hijab not the entire proper way. And even all the time I get whatever. And people have judged me, you know? And it's like, when your brother or sister is learning how to walk, you don't yell at them because they stumble, right? Or because they don't have it figured out yet. You be gentle with them and you teach them these things, you know? So, yeah, that's like a couple of things that I wish, and I hope that we can all work on, like making sure that your mosque too ask about this. Does your mosque have a support system for new Muslims? And I don't mean just like a class on Quran and Arabic. I mean, like everything you have to think about, because we're not even, when you first learn, like when you're a baby, you're not ready to sit in a classroom yet. There's so many other tiny things like learning wudu, all these things like that, and yes, we can learn it online, but like, why would you want like YouTube to get the good deed from that when you could be the one who teaches your sister, your brother how to make dua or things like that? So that I would ask that you guys go to your mosques and find out what programs it is that you have for reverts. And then if there's a revert in your mosque, if they're shy or they don't come a lot or whatever, seek them out, you know, like check up on them, invite them to dinner. If they say no, and do it again, like, because we need you guys, you know. And a lot of us get really hurt by other Muslims too, who maybe have bad intentions or, you know, have been judgmental or any of these things like that. We need you guys to love us like brothers and sisters and treat us like brothers and sisters, which means like an unconditional love, and being willing to meet us sometimes even in whatever place it is where we don't know, you know. So yeah, Jazakallah khair for watching. You can head over to my channel at A Hijabi's Hustle and find out more strange and awkward videos of times of me trying to tell everyone that I can speak English. And also, everybody always tells me I need to slow down when I make these videos in my talking, and I just don't know that that's possible. The second language that I speak is Chinese, and I don't know if it's because I learned how to speak Chinese and I spoke it really fast, or what it is that's going on, but it's really hard for me to slow down. Got a lot to say. So anyways, someone told me the other day too in the comments, which is true, I found out that the way I say Jazakallah khair means like thank Allah for my something, or I was like so wrong, but anyways, it was really funny. So what I'm trying to say, I don't know what I'm trying to say, and you can forgive my bad Arabic. So, assalamu alaikum. Bye bye.